Hi, everybody, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. So, how many times have you heard this?
37-year-old man has more options when it comes to dating and starting a family than a 37-year-old woman. That's because men gain value as they get older and women unfortunately lose their value. And don't blame me for this message, blame biology in our society. Women's greatest values are their beauty and their fertility, and the fertility rate goes down drastically after 35. And by 40 is about 5% per cycle or so. At the same time, men are still equipped to make children at 50 and even 60.
Because men are more like an asset appreciating in time. Women are more like a liability that depreciates rapidly with time. And subconsciously, you're all bothered by the fact that, as you age, your value is declining. So you have to create a psychological superstructure that makes guys feel guilty about wanting younger women. Cause we can sit back and pursue younger women infinitely. And so you have to make them feel guilty so that they behave and they consider you like when you end up like her. So when you end up 30 years old like her with 2 divorces, you still want to be accessible and appealing to guys like me. Once you get past that 30, you start creeping into something called menopause. Menopause is a cold because your hormonal balance is changing. So the way you behave and relate to him is also changing. So you're rapidly declining in value, all the values that the guy seeks. And for that very reason, you should try your best to lock in a guy. Marriage is primarily for the female. And the reason you're subconsciously angry that guys want younger women is because you know you won't be young forever. And you want to have a hot girl summer, not realizing that shit is really limited. You better lock in a guy before you turn 24, because after that, low key, people ain't checking for you. It's a wrap.
Now, listen to this.
All I'm saying is you should hurry up and have kids because your biological clock is ticking. Do you know male fertility drops drastically, 30 and over? Miscarriage, birth defects, autism, schizophrenia, all linked to older fathers. That's not true. If it was, I would have heard about it before now. You didn't hear about it because men only read studies when they say women are the problem. So yeah, my eggs are fine. Your swimmers, they're on life support.
Well, would you look at that? As soon as they started to do research into women's bodies, reproduction and women's health, like actually taking it seriously because they haven't been before, we are now seeing that all the myths around women's reproduction, all the things that women are told about us aging out, biological clocks, all these things aren't just as they seem. This new study that has just come out, I think a few months ago, says that women's egg quality stays stable with age while it's men's sperm that deteriorates. The study does not say that women no longer have a biological clock. We know that, as you get older, your eggs decrease. We know that it gets harder to have children. We know that. But what it's saying is that men's sperm have a biological clock as well. And for so long, we've been told that's not the case. Men can produce, healthy children into their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. The same rules don't apply. Actually, the sperm loses its quality a lot faster than the egg loses its quality. Interesting. Will this research have women questioning men's sperm quality the same way men will question women's reproductive health? I don't know, but now that women's health is being taken seriously and research into women's reproductive is actually being done, and probably with some women in the room, I cannot wait to see the results and how this is going to shift society.
Yeah. And yeah. My only question is, why did it take so long? All I can think about is all the women who have gone through it, just because they don't know any better. All right? Just because they were told that it's their fault. I went in the comment section and these are some of the comments I saw. This person said, so it was all his fault. The miscarriage was his fault. Okay, because that's usually what happens to a lot of women because of the first few clips. Women go through it because they are often treated as the reason why. If anything happens to the child, if anything goes wrong with the fertility, with having kids and so on and so forth, the woman is blamed. It's rare. It's on a rare occasion that you hear a man being blamed for their inability to have children and so on and so forth. Most of the times they say that's why they prefer younger women. And I think that's the reason why these things were not spoken about. See, because I find it hard to believe that they didn't know this until now. A part of me believes they've been known this. So a lot of men can use that as an excuse to be with younger women. There was this other lady talking about this is why she believes women should marry younger men. This is women in male-dominated fields. Anyway, let's get into it quickly. Leave your thoughts in the comments.
Once upon a time, we were told if you don't have children young, fertility will collapse and your children will be unhealthy. There's a new study that shows cells self-protect themselves from different mutations. Sperms tells a different story. Research shows that children of fathers over 45 years old have 3.5 times higher risk of autism, 13 times higher risk of ADHD, and 25 times higher risk of bipolar disorder compared to younger dads. Also, NHS says that 50% of infertility cases involve male factors. Eggs aren't the problem, and sperm plays a bigger role than what we thought. And what else are we getting wrong about women over 40 years old?
Do men have a biological clock? Up until now, all we hear about is that this is a women's issue, that our fertility is going to fall off a cliff after 35. No one's going to want us if we are over 35. And at the same time, we're seeing all these images of older fathers like Robert De Niro and Clint Eastwood, etc. But that's actually not the whole story. Let's look at some of the data that was presented this year at the ESHRE conference. They looked at 1,700 IVF cycles where they used donor eggs. So these were the eggs of young women. So the age of the egg was accounted for. On average, they were about 26. What they found was that when the male partner was over 45, there was a significantly higher risk of miscarriage. So why does this actually happen? Sperm accumulates DNA damage over time, and that can affect the quality. What we know is that when the sperm has a high rate of DNA damage or DNA fragmentation, that it can increase the risk of miscarriage, but also of conditions like, for example, neurological conditions. It doesn't mean that older men can't have healthy children, just in the same way that it doesn't mean that older women can't have healthy children. But what we do know is that the age of the sperm does matter as well. So yes, men do have a biological clock. It's not the exact same as for women, but it is important. Save this video and follow along for more fertility advice you can trust.
I've always said that biologically women should be dating younger men. It shouldn't be the other way around. There are biological reasons for it, and I'll explain. First of all, we've all heard the news about a 2025 study showing that the DNA in human eggs doesn't accumulate as many mutations from maternal age as they traditionally expected from a lot of male-centric data that they collected. However, the sperm does accumulate damage over time, including DNA fragmentation, oxidative damage, and epigenetic changes. So these can actually contribute to higher rates of miscarriage or issues in the pregnancy. But we can also look at life expectancy. So on average, women are expected to live 8 years longer than men. So if we're dating sort of traditionally sort of 10 years older or within that kind of age bracket, we're more likely to be alone later in life. So emotionally, we're more likely to be alone, but also we just don't have that primary caregiver or person there to look after us. It kind of is the other way around. Again, super patriarchal. But if you're dating younger, you're less likely to have that significant portion of your life alone when you're older, and you're more likely to have a similar kind of life expectancy if you date younger. So I do actually believe biologically that women are supposed to be dating younger rather than the other way around.
Finding out the uterus doesn't age has been top 10 things I've learned in the last month. Probably number one, actually, because it makes so much sense. First off, that mouth replenishes itself. It dies and it's born again every month. Every month it dies and it's born again. And you know what? I'll even get further into it. Figuring out that it's always been the sperm makes so much freaking sense because when you think about eggs or you think about seeds, right? Before they ferment, usually most seeds are not bum seeds. The majority of seeds are not bum seeds. It's the way you plant them, such as soil, which is a fertilizer. Do you have good humidity? Do you have light? And is the fertilizer bad? And if the fertilizer's bad, the plant's not going to come out right. If you over fertilize, it won't produce. If you don't give enough fertilizer, it won't produce. And if your fertilizer is shit, it definitely won't produce. I knew we knew that it was never us, but like, why did we let men even try to convince us even a little bit? And just from women being in science lately, as in like the last 30 years, they've been debunking men left and right when it comes to the woman's body. And I think that just proves that the majority of those men were sexist, misogynist, pedophile, disgusting, lying human beings. That's how I feel. At the end of the day, men have to lie to make themselves feel better. They violently uphold the patriarchy, so we all abide to it.
Men's biological clock runs out at 30, and the amount of men that are triggered by me saying this is actually hilarious. I'm 38, I haven't decided if I want kids yet or not. That ship has sailed, and then it sank. You're 3 dozen years old and change. You're in Norwood 3, and you're staring yourself in the mirror, ignoring your sagging eye bags and your leathery sharkskin chest, saying, oh yeah, a 25-year-old fertile woman is definitely gonna want me. I would call you a loser, but that would imply there's some kind of present tense losing that's going on. You've lost. The amount of late 30s men that really look in the mirror every morning at their crow's-footed, sun-scarred face and say, yeah, a woman a decade and a half younger than me is going to want to carry my inferior genetic material across the finish line is astronomical. Also, the fact that these guys are almost universally afraid of seed oils, deodorant, and sunscreen, but don't mind carrying a microwave next to their balls for 2 decades is just frankly ironic.
My curly hair is from my dad's side, and until my mom became pregnant with me, she had pin straight hair. All of a sudden, it turned really curly. I just found out a man's genes can actually alter yours if you're pregnant with their child. To me, that translates to they can turn you ugly too.
No, because this process is actually crazy. It's called Microchimerism. Hi, my name is Daphne. I'm getting my master's in public health, and I just find the human body just so fascinating. So basically, when someone with female anatomy gets pregnant by their counterpart, there is a mother and fetal cell transfer that happens. Well, the fetus was made from 2 people. Therefore, she absorbs DNA from the other parent, which means that slowly over time, your hair patterns can change, or you can become autoimmune to certain things, or it can also strengthen certain genetic factors. All of it is crazy, and it can affect anybody. You can have a full pregnancy and have this happen, or you can abort and have this happen, and anything in between the two. So it can literally happen to anybody. So yes, be careful with who you sleep with, because they may alter your appearance.
Yes, ladies, this is real huge and crazy, so be very mindful of who you sleep with. But I might either make a playlist or a series about this because this is huge. Why, ladies? Because yes, your boyfriend, your husband, yes, once you are impregnated by him, even if you have an abortion, once that seed is developed in you, the DNA binds and literally it shows on the exterior. Absolutely. But you want to know what else is crazy? Y'all make sure y'all check out part 2, because in part 2, I'm going to talk about what happens on the interior. So yes, not only does, you see what I'm saying, if you abort this baby or have his fetus or hold this child in any way, shape, or form, that DNA binds on you, you see what I'm saying, and it shows on the exterior features, y'all should really know what happens on the interior features to where a woman binds to a man. You see what I'm saying? And part 2, we're definitely going to talk about that because it shows up. So that's the exterior. Then we're going to also talk about in part 3, we're going to talk about ways that show up in her neural pathways. So yes, ladies, you literally start to think like this, man. We're going to discuss, we're going to talk about it. And then in part 4, oh, that's really juicy. What I got on, what I got for y'all? I got some treats for y'all. Oh yeah, how to cleanse. This is huge. A lot of women don't even know how to cleanse past partners. Straight up, that's huge. That's all a part 4. You see what I'm saying? And then part 5, we're going to discuss how to actually cleanse, because I want y'all to see what it looks like in part 4, so you know what I mean, where you stand on the scale. And then part 5, we're just going to talk about how to release past partners. This is huge. This is groundbreaking news. With that being said, it's the general, and I'm out. Stay tuned.
Research confirms that the female egg doesn't have a biological clock. It's the male sperm that does. Healthy women's eggs' mitochondrial DNA does not accumulate mutations until age 45, whereas men's sperm DNA fragmentation inevitably begins at age 30, and the older a man becomes, the more gene errors occur, backed by evidence. Therefore, time is evidently a primary limiting factor for men, not women, and pregnancies from older women with younger men are on average significantly safer than pregnancies with older men and younger women. Also, studies on increased infertility risk of women over 35 are a trick to blame women for men's shortcomings because most women have older partners, but the study models only focus on the women's outcome of a successful or unsuccessful pregnancy, ignoring the elephant in the room. Therefore, if you want to make that argument, men don't need younger women, but women need younger men. Ladies, do you think men should marry in their 20s before they become overripe and expired? Let me know your thoughts below.
Yeah. This comment stood out to me. He said, my pediatrician had a miscarriage, and when I went to give my condolences, she said, girl, don't say sorry. That was bad DNA from my husband, and I don't want that. The depth that statement carried, exactly. Because if you know the truth, you will not allow people to make you feel bad about situations like that, okay? You will not allow them to use that as power over you. And this is why information like this is very, very important. Because I know there's some woman out there praying, fasting, snorting for a child because she's been told it's her fault, or she believes that it's her fault. It's up to her to have healthy children. It's up to her to be able to conceive. And most of the times when it has to do with the men, they're hush-hush about it. Oh, cover your husband's shame, But when it has to do with you, oh, there's no covering of shame. Even if it doesn't have anything to do with you, there's no covering of shame. The way they will come for you, the way they will treat you in that relationship, that marriage, the way you are going to go through it. Especially in African cultures, you see them moving from place to place with younger women. All right? Okay? They'll go for a younger woman because, oh, all your eggs are fried. It's your fault that we can't have a child. It's your fault that this is your fault. It's always a woman's fault. But look, it was all projection after all. Somebody also said, yeah, that's right. 9 times out of 10, it's not the oven's fault that the cookies don't taste good. It's the cookie mixture. Okay. So yeah, it's just something I saw on the internet. I just wanted to share. Just in case you know a woman who is going through, just remind her that it could possibly be her husband. The chances of it being him is very high. And the lady who was talking about how their DNA alters your looks and your appearance, yeah, take that into consideration when choosing a partner. Yeah. Don't listen to what they had to say before, because most of it, yes, there may be some truth in it, but most of it is not true. I'm going to leave it here. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves and one another. Bye.